Picture a truck so aerodynamic it hit 11 miles per gallon in 1990 and got cancelled anyway. Picture a semi so luxurious Ford stole the interior straight out of a Lincoln and buyers barely noticed. Some trucks fail because they're bad. These didn't. These were specific, real, brilliant machines, killed by oil embargoes, boardroom cowardice, a single law, and one very famous lie. Here are 10 trucks, actual models, not just brands, that had everything and still never got their shot. Number 10. Mack MH Ultraliner. We start with Mack's last great gamble on the cabover. A truck that was genuinely ahead of the curve on the one thing that matters most in trucking: weight. Mack introduced the MH Ultraliner in 1982 as the successor to its cruise liner. And the headline feature was that cab. Instead of heavy steel, Mack built the Ultraliner's cab out of fiberglass mounted on a reinforced metal frame. The result was a Class 8 cabover that was remarkably light for its size. And in trucking, every pound you save on the truck is a pound of freight you can legally haul and get paid for. That's not a gimmick. That's money in the driver's pocket on every single load. It was a proper truck, too. You could get it as a 59-inch day cab or a 90-inch sleeper, with 4 different interior trims and your choice of round or square headlights. The most popular version, the MH613, ran Mack's own E9 V8, making 500 horsepower, though you could also spec Cummins, Caterpillar, or Detroit power. Mack built it specifically to go head-to-head with the mighty Kenworth K100, and for a while it did exactly that. So why is it on this list? Timing. Plain and simple. The Ultraliner arrived right as the American cabover was about to fall off a cliff. A story you're going to hear again and again on this countdown. In total, Mack built roughly 16,190 of the MH and MHR trucks before the market for big cabovers evaporated, and by 1993 it was gone. It turned out to be the last cabover long-haul truck Mack ever made. Mack pivoted hard toward conventional highway trucks like the CH series and never looked back. The Ultraliner did the smart thing, chase lightweight efficiency years before it was fashionable. It just did it in the wrong body style at the worst possible moment. Number 9. International 9800. Next up is a cabover that solved the single biggest complaint drivers had about cabovers and still couldn't survive the American market's change of heart. If you've ever sat in an old cabover engine truck, you know the problem. The engine sits right between the seats, buried under a big hump called the doghouse, roasting your leg and blocking you from walking back to the sleeper. International's answer was brilliant. With the 9000 series cabovers, the company reconfigured the front axle to create a completely flat cab floor. No engine hump at all. You could literally stand up and walk straight back into the bunk. In 1996, International crowned that line with the 9800, the flagship model, featuring a towering high-rise roof nearly 8 feet tall and available in premium Eagle trim. This was, by any measure, a genuinely great truck for the driver. Flat floor, walk-through cab, tall, comfortable interior, and real power. The 9670 that spawned it ran twin-turbo Cummins diesels, making 475 horsepower. It was everything a long-haul cabover should have been, and it still didn't matter. American buyers had already decided cabovers were the past. In 1999, Navistar, International's parent company, pulled out of cabover engine production in North America entirely, ending the 9000 series here at home. But here's the fascinating part, and it's a theme you'll see repeatedly. The truck was too good to actually die. Navistar shipped the tooling to Brazil and kept building it. The renamed 9800i sold all across South America, and right-hand drive versions were exported to New Zealand and South Africa, where tight length laws still made cabovers the smart choice. Overseas assemblers kept updating and building versions of it well into the 2020s. So the International 9800 wasn't a bad truck. It was arguably one of the most driver-friendly cabovers ever built in America. It just happened to be a fantastic answer to a question American truckers had stopped asking. Number 8. Ford CL9000. Here's a truck most people have completely forgotten. And that's the tragedy, because the Ford CL9000 was, for its era, one of the most genuinely luxurious semis on the road. Ford launched the CL9000 in 1978 to replace its dated W Series cabover, and it did not do it halfway. This was Ford's flagship Class 8 cabover, and it came loaded with technology that was legitimately advanced for the late 70s, including a sophisticated 4-point cab air suspension system to smooth out the notoriously harsh cabover ride. But the part that made people fall in love was the interior. On the premium cab, Ford essentially raided the Lincoln Potts bin. We're talking heating and air conditioning controls, the stereo system, switchgear and thick pile carpeting pulled straight out of the Lincoln Town Car. Drivers who climbed into one described it as shockingly car-like. One owner said it was ahead of its time for high-style truck interiors by a good 15 years. Imagine stepping out of a bare-bones bouncing rig of the 1970s and into what felt like a rolling luxury sedan. That was the CL9000. So what went wrong? Ford itself. The trucks were good. They stayed in production through around 1990. But Ford was only ever a bit player in the heavy truck world, holding roughly 5% of the Class 8 market. Meanwhile, its light truck and Super Duty business was a money-printing machine. So in 1997, Ford made the cold decision to sell its entire heavy truck division to Freightliner and walk away from big rigs for good. A truck with Lincoln luxury, advanced air suspension, and real presence, killed not because it failed on the road, but because the company that built it decided the whole business wasn't worth its time. The CL9000 deserved a much longer life than Ford was willing to give it. Number 7. GMC Astro 95 Sec Chevrolet Titan. Now for a truck that should absolutely have been a runaway success because it came from the largest automaker on the planet, and General Motors still managed to fumble it. Meet the GMC Astro 95, sold in Chevrolet showrooms as the Titan. Introduced for 1969, this was the biggest cabover GM ever built, assembled in Pontiac, Michigan, and it had real innovation baked in. The standout was the wraparound dashboard. GM put the speedometer and tachometer directly in the driver's line of sight, with the secondary gauges angled off to the side, genuinely thoughtful ergonomics for the era. Add the wraparound windshield and a distinctive handsome shape, and the Astro looked like the future. GM kept developing it too. In 1975 came the dragfoiler roof spoiler for better fuel economy. In 1979, the SS package dressed it up with a big grille and nicer trim to court owner-operators. In 1983, the Aero Astro package added serious aerodynamic aids. This was not a company phoning it in. So why did it fail? Because GM's heart was never in the heavy truck business. First, Chevrolet dealers simply weren't equipped or willing to service big Class 8 rigs. So around 1980 and 81, GM pulled Chevrolet out of heavy trucks and killed the Titan. Then came the bigger blow. In 1986, GM handed its heavy truck operations into a joint venture with Volvo holding the majority stake. Under that deal, GM's own designs were phased out and the GMC Astro ended production after 9. With it, General Motors exited the Class 8 truck market entirely. Think about that. The world's biggest car maker built a genuinely good, forward-thinking cabover, and then simply decided the whole segment wasn't worth fighting for. The Astro didn't lose. GM just stopped playing. Number 6. Diamond Rio C16 Giant. This next truck carried two of the proudest names in American trucking history and had the reputation to back them up, which makes what happened to it genuinely heartbreaking. The Diamond Rio C116 Giant arrived around 1971, a rugged cabover powered by big Cummins and Detroit diesel engines, and it earned a real reputation for toughness and durability. The names behind it were legendary. Diamond Rio came from the 1967 merger of Diamond T, founded in 1905, and Rio, founded back in 1904 by Ransom E. Olds, the same man who created Oldsmobile. This was heritage you couldn't buy, but heritage and a good product weren't enough. The company behind the C116 tires for cash and got passed from owner to owner. On December 6, 1974, Diamond Rio Trucks filed for bankruptcy, and most of its assets were liquidated the following year. And yet, like several trucks on this list, the C1116 Giant was too respected to simply vanish. In 1975, two men, Loyal Osterland and Ray Housel, bought the rights and kept building the Giant out of a former dealership in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. The problem was scale. In 1978, total production was just 131 trucks. By the mid-1980s, the Harrisburg plant was tooled to build 10 trucks a day, but was actually turning out closer to 2. That's the definition of a truck that should have succeeded. The C-116 Giant had the engineering, the durability, and one of the most storied badges in the industry. What it never had was a parent company with enough money and a big enough dealer network to compete against the giants. A great truck quietly building 2 units a day in a converted dealership is a great truck that the market never got to properly meet. Number 5. White Road Commander. Our 5th entry was styled by an honest-to-goodness automotive design legend, and that pedigree is exactly why its fate stings. White introduced the Road Commander in 1972 as its heavy cab-over-highway tractor, built specifically to take on Peterbilt, Kenworth, and Freightliner in the long-haul market. And to make it stand out, White brought in Larry Shinoda. Yes, the designer whose fingerprints are on icons like the Corvette Stingray and the Boss 302 Mustang. Having a man like that shape a Class 8 truck was almost unheard of, and it showed. The Road Commander 2, which arrived in 1975, had a distinctive split wraparound windshield and White's signature tapered doors. A clean, modern, genuinely good-looking rig built in Dublin, Virginia, and available with Cummins, Caterpillar, or Detroit power from 1900 all the way to 450 horsepower. This was a stylish, capable, well-engineered truck with a designer's touch. It had every reason to succeed. What killed it wasn't the truck. It was the collapse of the entire company behind it. White Motor had spent decades drowning itself in debt, and the oil crises of the 70s hammered demand for heavy trucks. In September 1980, White filed for bankruptcy. Volvo swept in and bought the U.S. truck assets in 1981, and the Road Commander soldiered on under Volvo ownership for a couple more years before being replaced. So the Road Commander had the looks, the engineering, and a designer whose work is in museums. It just had the misfortune of being tied to a sinking ship. When the company goes down, even a beautiful truck goes down with it. Number 4. Peterbilt 372. This one is my personal favorite kind of failure. A truck that was so far ahead of its time, it actually proved the future was possible and got laughed out of the room for it. In 1988, Peterbilt unveiled the Model 372, and it looked like nothing else on the highway. Where every other truck was square and upright, the 372 was smoothed into a sleek, pointed, wind-cheating shape. People didn't know what to make of it. They called it the Winnebago. They said it looked like a football helmet, or Darth Vader. Peterbilt had taken the cab from its blocky 362, then reshaped it in a wind tunnel until it was the most aerodynamic Peterbilt cabover ever built. And here's the thing, it worked. The 372 reportedly cut aerodynamic drag by around 50% compared to the 362, and in real-world cross-country testing, Peterbilt got this Class 8 truck to average over 11 miles per gallon. In 1990, for context, plenty of big rigs today still struggle to beat that. Peterbilt had, in effect, proven that dramatic fuel savings were absolutely achievable, the exact goal the entire industry chases now. But the market wasn't ready, and the styling was just too shocking. Truckers of that era wanted long, proud, chrome-laden noses, not a rolling motorcycle helmet. Sales were dismal. Only 772 Model 372s were ever built before Peterbilt pulled the plug in 19. The plain old 362 actually outsold it despite getting worse mileage. Here's the beautiful irony though. The 372 lost the battle but won the war. Every one of those aerodynamic ideas, the smooth shapes, the integrated fairings, the wind tunnel obsession, became standard on virtually every modern truck. The Peterbilt 372 was right. It was just about 30 years early, and the industry punished it for that. Number 3. Freightliner Argosy. If the last few entries hinted at why the American cabover died, this truck is the one that took the full weight of it, because the Argosy was the very last of its kind. Freightliner launched the Argosy for 1999, and it was a genuinely modern, thoughtful design. The old cabover curse, that big engine hump between the seats, was almost entirely gone. Freightliner got the intrusion down to just about 3 inches, giving it a nearly flat floor. It was engineered to meet tough European crash standards, making it one of the safest trucks of its time. Freightliner truly believed a comfortable, safe, modern cabover could spark a comeback. The problem was baked into history. Back in 1982, the Surface Transportation Assistance Act had abolished the overall length limits for trucks on the interstate system. For decades, those length laws were the entire reason cabovers existed. A short, flat-faced truck let you run a longer, more profitable trailer. Once the length limit was gone, drivers rushed to big, comfortable long-hood conventionals that rode better and were easier to service. By 1998, the cabover share of the Class 8 market had collapsed to around 3%. Freightliner was launching the Argosy into a category that was already nearly dead. The bet didn't pay off. Freightliner ended US and Canadian sales of the Argosy after 2006, making it the final Class 8 cabover ever marketed new in North America. But, and you know the pattern by now, the truck itself was too good to fully quit. Overseas, in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, where length laws still favored cabovers, it thrived. In Australia, the Argosy became Freightliner's best-selling truck, and it stayed in production for export all the way until 20. A safe, modern, clever cabover, born in the one country that had already decided it didn't want cabovers anymore. The Argosy is the tombstone of an entire era of American trucking. Number 2. Nikola One. Now for the most dramatic entry of them all, a specific truck that promised to reinvent the industry, was briefly worth more than Ford, and then became the centerpiece of one of the biggest frauds in automotive history. The Nikola One was revealed in December 2016 by a charismatic founder named Trevor Milton, who'd started the company in 2015 and named it after Nikola Tesla. The pitch was electrifying, a hydrogen fuel cell electric semi with massive power, huge range and zero emissions, a clean, quiet, futuristic replacement for the diesel big rig. It looked like the actual future of trucking, and investors lost their minds over it. When Nikola went public through a SPAC merger in June 2020, its value exploded to nearly $30 billion, briefly surpassing the market capitalization of Ford Motor Company. A company that had barely delivered a single truck was, on paper, worth more than the company that put America on wheels. Then it all came crashing down. In September 2020, a short seller report accused Nikola of being an elaborate deception. The most devastating detail involved a slick promotional video that appeared to show the Nikola One cruising powerfully down a road under its own power. In reality, investigators revealed, the truck had simply been rolled down a gentle hill and filmed to look like it was driving. Milton resigned within days. In October 2022, he was convicted of securities and wire fraud. And in December 2023, he was sentenced to 4 years in prison plus a $1 million fine and $168 million in restitution. Nikola itself had already paid a $125 million settlement to regulators. The company never recovered the trust it had torched, bled cash for years, and filed for bankruptcy in February 2025. Milton was later pardoned by President Trump in March 2025. Here's the gut punch. The vision behind the Nikola One zero-emission long-haul trucking was real and genuinely important. That truck could have been a pioneer. Instead, hype and outright lies turned one of the most exciting ideas in modern trucking into a cautionary tale. Number 1. Dodge Bighorn. And at number 1, the truck that has become an absolute legend precisely because it failed so spectacularly. This is the purest should-have-succeeded story ever told. A bold, beautiful, powerful rig crushed by the worst timing imaginable. In 1973, Dodge decided to storm the Class 8 heavy truck market and take on the giants. It had trucking blood going back to the Dodge brothers, and it wasn't going to hand the big rig business to Kenworth and Peterbilt without a fight. The result was the Dodge Bighorn, a broad-shouldered, unmistakably American conventional with a massive stainless steel grille, a long, powerful hood, and a stance that made it look absolutely enormous. Its engine bay was built cavernous, ready to swallow the biggest diesels of the day, from Detroit diesels to the big Cummins power drivers nicknamed the Shiny 20. It looked like a titan, but the deck was stacked against it. The cab, for all its imposing size, was actually ancient. The basic structure dated back to the late 1940s and mid-1950s, and Dodge had almost no dedicated heavy truck dealer network. Worse, as rumors swirled that Chrysler might quit Class 8, nervous Dodge dealers stopped stocking the trucks, a self-fulfilling prophecy that strangled sales before they could even start. Then reality closed in from every direction. The 1973 oil crisis sent fuel prices soaring and gutted the market. Chrysler was sliding toward its own financial disaster, and a new federal anti-lock brake requirement arrived that the Bighorn wasn't designed to meet, giving Chrysler its final excuse to bail. Dodge pulled out of the Class 8 business in 1975 and never came back. The grand total? Just 261 Bighorns were ever built. But here's what makes it the perfect ending. This truck refused to be forgotten. Somewhere around 105 to 150 of those 261 still survive today, an almost unbelievable survival rate, lovingly restored and shown off by a devoted fan base, a commercial flop that became one of the most treasured collector trucks in America. The Dodge Bighorn had the looks, the power, and the ambition to make it. It just got hit by an oil embargo, a nervous dealer network, a new safety law, and a parent company losing its nerve, all at the exact same time. If any single truck on Earth should have succeeded, it's this one. So there you have it, 10 specific trucks that had the engineering, the innovation, or the vision to make it, and got taken down by everything except their own quality. Bad timing, corporate cold feet, a single game-changing law, and one very famous fraud. Which of these hurts the most for you? Is it the wind-cheating Peterbilt 372, the Lincoln-lined Ford CL9000, or the legendary Dodge Bighorn? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you enjoyed this, hit subscribe for more forgotten trucking history.